an amazing weekend. And just a quick one. So yesterday was my birthday, and I got a lot of love and warmth from everyone, and it was just mind-blowing. It was overwhelming, and I just want to say a very big thank you to everyone, every single one. Thank you for being amazing. Thank you for being a part of Mainland 98.3 FM. Thank you for staying tuned, and thank you for the support over the years. I really appreciate it. My name is Omobola Sandra. So let's look at the stories that trended over the weekend. I'll start with Saturday. Of course, the fuel crisis conversation continues. Fuel scarcity, Ipman on pricing and supply challenges. The major headline on the front page of Saturday Punch read, NNPC marketers trade blame as fuel crisis deepens, as marketers are exploring, situation. Well, NNPCL is saying marketers are exploiting the situation to make money, while IPMAN, that's the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, responded with, we can't supply what we don't have. We don't have, you're not giving us, so what are we going to do? But NNPCL seems to be on the side of the fact that marketers are exploiting the situation just to make more money. Also, another story that trended over the weekend on Saturday, federal government pledges to provide unfettered access to journalists, and that's as coming from the World Press Freedom Day conversation, that is, but what was the major headline on the front page of The Guardian. And still on The Guardian newspaper, wage increase, workers are told the president, your government is deceitful. That's a very strong one. But then, moving on to Saturday Vanguard, the major headline there read, graft, how 58 ex-governors allegedly looted 2.187 trillion naira. That's a very interesting read. You may want to look that up. Moving on to Sunday, major stories that trended Sunday, yesterday. All right, the major headline on the front page of the Punch read, federal government plans strict rules for $50 billion crypto businesses. And we also have here, Yoruba Nation agitation, not hatred for Tinubu, and that's coming from Pa Akintoye. The conversation as regards, the mass failure at the for JAM or on JAM continued as well on Saturday. But moving on to the Guardian newspaper, Forex defies interventions as CBN shops for alternatives. I always say it, and Fuad just doesn't want to agree with the fact that I really do not know whatever it is that the CBN is doing in trying to salvage the situation of the naira against the US dollar. But whatever it is, it's not it. That's just what I'm going to say. And finally, off the front page of Vanguard, Sunday Vanguard, Labour fires back at governors. Don't cause trouble with your utterances. And they're telling them to work with tripartite committee, saying that Labour went ahead to say that they're even being generous. I'm quoting now. We're being generous with the 615,000 naira demand. I don't know about that, but then, of course, a lot of people have called that particular one unrealistic. So let's look at the major stories for this morning. You are still listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. This is Trends in the Papers. Today, this beautiful Monday, the 6th of May, 2024. I trust we had a restful weekend. And for those of us who are on our way to work, I see that a lot of us are really struggling, especially due to the rain, the weather. I understand that. So, but then please do ensure that you just see what you can do, because the hustle still needs to continue, especially with economic challenges that we're all going through. I will not be doing this alone as usual. Fuad Sahid will be joining in via the phone line to give analysis to the stories that we're going to be treating this morning. Good morning, Fuad. Or a cold morning, Fuad.
A very cold morning, I must say. Good morning, Sandra. It's a good one, really. Despite the flooding in some part of Lagos already been reported. I think a lot of people would like the weather, really. Not for the early morning, on a Monday morning, really, because of course you understand the disruptions that will come. The traffic, people are going to struggle to get to work. But there are people who believe that, look, it's a good one. Heat has been very, very high because power supply has been very poor amongst the standard in recent times. So it's mixed feelings for people, really. While they are struggling to go to work, it's a bit of respite, really, because of the harsh weather, because of the failure of the discos to, of course, provide power supply to people. So, but it's a good one. We'll struggle through it. The fuel scarcity is still there. The queues are are still there, long queue in mid filling stations and in parts of Lagos. It's still the same old story. Supply, we are loading, we are not loading, we have enough supply, we have not enough supply. We are working very hard. You know, our public officials are always working very hard.
Yeah, they don't sleep until 2
a.m. They work hard, but
very hard
the result of their hard work is what they always speak. Really. But again, happy birthday to you, Sandra. Happy birthday to you, Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Celebrated it yesterday.
Yeah.
In your absence.
Yes. Yes.
But congratulations to you, I must say.
Thank you so much. Just speaking of that, thank you so much. A very big thank you to the gentleman on Political Roundtable. I came to work and I made this huge surprise. I really appreciate that. And speaking of the Political Roundtable, I'm a little bit, I'm curious as regards the conversation around political realignment, as regards Senator Abe Wike and their long-standing feud, and what exactly is the political situation in Rivers State? Just a very quick one for it at this moment.
Well, in the political space, I think the calculations are already towards 2027. Don't be deceived. The mind of the politician is not such on, that one that focuses on the mandate at hand. When one election is won, they're already thinking of the next one. That's just the way we operate there. And I think the realignment we're already saying is towards 2027. The possibility of an impeachment of Fubara is almost impossible. Really. I think politically that calculation is not on the table. But again, everyone would have to flex a muscle at some point when it comes to the calculations towards 2027. And people are already aligning. Magnus Abbey, that was almost like a sworn enemy of his own wiki like friend, they are now in the same camp. Whereas you have Fubara, who also have satisfied mind, people who wiki has showed that side at some point, already rallying behind Fubara and telling me you are now the political leader. So, but the reality is that something will eventually happen in 2027. Whether it's going to be a Fubara victory or a Wiki victory, we'll have to wait to see. And that's the consensus of political roundtable yesterday. It's a game of time. Time will tell eventually.
Time will tell. Also help us, God. For those who would like to get more details as regards that, of course, we have our videos on our YouTube and Facebook platforms. The conversation was around rising food prices and the statement from Yemi Cardoso as regards the fact that the palliatives that government palliatives is part of what's worsening our food inflation in this country. I really don't want to go into the contradictory nature of that one. But then opposition politics as well. Are we truly on the road to a one-party state? And a whole lot more on Political Roundtable yesterday, the 5th of May. So you may want to just visit our YouTube and Facebook platforms. Now to trends in the papers for this morning. Very quickly, we'll start with the Punch newspaper. The major headline there, Lagos-Calabar Highway. The conversation is still there. And now it's the telcos that are speaking out. Telcos fear shutdown as corruption threatens cables. We have riders here. Undersea fiber cables linking Europe to Nigeria pass through construction corridor. And that's coming from Alton and Atcon. Well, I mean, there's a lot to actually unpack from that one, and I think the concern that wasn't really there, I think would probably now be there now, especially with this spectacle. What do you think, Fuad? Because at first it was investors looking at whatever it is that's going on that the right of way, businesses that had to be shut down, businesses that had to be closed up for that highway, for the realization of that highway. And now we're looking at the fact that poles will have to be brought down, and it's not even just telcos, but of course the focus is on telcos. We're also going to be looking at power cables as well, would have to be brought down. What exactly the government would be doing as regards that. But let's just quickly take a quick one from what the report has to say. Barely 48 hours after MultiChoice alerted subscribers to a 3-day technical downtime, telecommunication companies have expressed concern over possible connectivity disruptions as construction advances on the 700-kilometer Lagos-Calabar coastal highway. So, while DSTV and GoTV owner, that's MultiChoice, acknowledged the anticipated impact of the construction ongoing on their uplink facilities, telcos now have expressed broader concerns, emphasizing the vital role of telecommunication service and the effect of possible anticipated technical corruption. As it is now, the coastal highway serves as a crucial landing point for multiple submarine cables that's connecting Nigeria to
Main 1 and Co. Yeah.
Thank you. Main 1, Glo 1, ACE, NCS, CS. All of this very vital for international communication and data transmission in the country. What?
What?
Is all of this really worth it, or do you think this was properly thought through? For maybe there's some contingency plans that are already in place, to mitigate this particular situation or concern.
Well, I hope so. I actually hope that indeed there would have been some contingency plan. Because again, when we talk about planning, and when we talk about, thinking things through before going into a massive project of this nature, it is because of things like this. I don't think anybody will go into this kind of construction without considering some of the things we are talking about now. That's why one of our colleagues,
the environment question. Yes, I was going to bring that up.
Ask that all important question on the environmental assessment report.
Yeah.
Because again, one of the things that would have been discovered, that would have been highlighted as part of that EIA report would have been things like this. You can't have a massive road construction of this nature without having some form of destruction. Sometimes you have to realign and reposition power cables, telecommunication cables, and things like that. It always comes with massive constructions of this nature. But the all-important question is not even whether it is worth it or not. So to a great extent, the project is already ongoing. I don't think anybody can stop it at this stage, standard. I really doubt if there's anything that can be done
no
to stop that project.
No going back.
So since there is no going back on that project, we'll have to start to address issues like this. And I'm hoping that, look, whatever, secret that this project has come with would not really affect and disrupt for too long the activities of telecommunication operators who have their cables along that particular corridor, if you understand what I'm saying. So I'm hoping that, look, whatever disruption that will come would not be something that too much of an impact for business and communication in the country. So I think that all of those plans would have been in place. I'm hoping that all of those plans would have been in place to ensure that there's minimal impact and destruction while the road construction was ongoing. The telcos have said that it will be for some days, really, not something that's going to last for too long. I'm hoping that that's not the case. But people, I think, have to be prepared and well informed so that when we see those disruptions, we understand where it's coming from.
Thank you very much, Fuad. The chairman of the Association of Licensed Telecom Operators of Nigeria, Alton Gbenga Adebayo, confirmed that the Ministry of Works is yet to engage telcos on environmental impact assessment. So he said, and I quote, "The Ministry of Works has not approached us, and I'm unsure if environmental impact assessments have been conducted. The route is crucial for the landing of numerous submarine cables, so caution is essential. Some members have reached out to them, urging caution. As chairman of the industry, I can confirm that Alton members were not consulted regarding the assessment of the undersea cable within that right-of-way. Some months, I think a month or two or so ago, when there was that disruption in network issue, I think a major part of West Africa, with what happened
somewhere in Côte d'Ivoire.
Yes, all right. So I think that was enough to open our eyes to the fact that there's just a lot that happens under the waters.
You know what, Sandra, when we talk about due process, this is exactly what we're talking about. And for those that don't want us to talk about these things, the project must just happen, the road must just happen, whatever it takes. No, things are not done that way. Whether we like it or not, these telco operators have invested millions of dollars in this facility. Also look at the bigger picture here, Sandra. The impact on business. These are service providers who would also ensure that their customers get the services no matter what happens. Look at the structure now. You can now see that we're now back to the EIA report. That was the same EIA report that ⴏ could not answer. That question he could not answer it. He just glossed over it and said, we are the ones that issue is not you. And we have all the documents. Look, whether we like it or not, the reality is that this project, has a lot of questions that we have not been able, the government has not been able to answer. Why the orange? When we talk about the Procurement Act, people said, in the Procurement Act, there are options for projects to be awarded without competitive bidding. And we said no. Yes, the Procurement Act talks about selective bidding, where you can actually, award projects without really taking into competitive bidding. there's also discussed on the fact that it has to be an emergency project. For example, Sandra, if a bridge collapses somewhere that is serving maybe a state or something, and you need to quickly fix that bridge, you know, you might not take it to completely business because that's a facility that is already existing and will disrupt business activities of people, and you need to quickly fix it. That's what the procurement act is talking about, emergency projects of that kind of nature. But not a road that you are just passing all over that does not really have any structure that would happen if you don't run into it the way you are running into it. And that's why people are saying that, look, it's a bit opaque. There seems to be something fishy somewhere about this particular project. The same thing is what the telcos are now saying. Stakeholders are saying that, look, we're never engaged. We are not even seeing the EIA report. We don't know whether there's enough engagement and contingency plan to take care of some of these things. But whatever I see, you can see the way the government is going about it, that there's a desperation. It's something where, like, you know, our lives depend on this particular project. Whatever happens, it must happen no matter what happens. You know, and that's why business owners are complaining. I was still listening to the owner of Landmark. I was watching a video, a YouTube video over the weekend. And if you listen to what the owner of the business says, that look, he sold everything abroad to come and invest in that particular project. And 17 years ago, when he started the project, the reason for putting that beach resort there is because of the beachfront. He even said that, look, the original plan of the coastal road was to be on Water Corporation Drive.
Yes.
Because if you look at the video and if you look at pictures coming from that particular project, if that road had followed the initial plan of Water Corporation Drive, it would have spent the beachfront of Landmark resort. Because at the end of the day, after Landmark, the same road connects back to the Water Corporation Drive road. So you begin to ask your question, you know, why this alignment, the alignment, are there, you know, things, are there some secrets behind this particular project? Look, if I tell you some of the speculations out there, Sandra, you'll be shocked. If I tell you what the speculation people are saying, in fact, the reason why the ground zero was moved from Water Corporation Drive to the big front of Landmark, you'll be shocked as to what our leaders can do with some of the things they try to do without giving a damn as to what happens to other people's business. But whatever it is, we are hoping that this disruption will not be too impactful negatively on businesses of people.
Thank you very much, Fuad. Well, I mean, yes, it is also important to know that it's not, construction is ongoing, and even the construction that's ongoing is yet to get close to areas where the undersea cables and the fiber cables are located. But it's still very, very important and critical for us to recognize that yes, these submarine cables to Lagos are situated along the coastline. That's exact, you know, right away. So it's important that we actually dig deeper. It's a lot to unpack from this. The Association of telecommunication companies of Nigeria also, you know, they also came forward to also, you know, make statements as regards this. So we'll definitely be following as it goes on. More details of this particular story on page 33 of the Punch newspaper. You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. It's 8:01, and we're live on Facebook and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. So please do well to join the conversation, engage us on the live chat sections or in the live chat section. Thank you. Moving on now, we also have here on the front page of the Punch newspaper, 80% of Lekki buildings have no approval, says Lagos State government. I think Fuad is the perfect person to, you know, give a statement as regards this, as a real estate, you know, expert that he is. So what Lagos State Commissioner for Fiscal Planning and Urban Development, Dr. Oluyinka Olumide, is stating is that 80% of buildings in Ibeju Lekki don't have approval. And this was, you know, in a recent interview. So he said, and I quote, "Just last week, Thursday and Friday, myself and the team were in Ibeju and Ekwe, and you would agree with me that anybody passing through that corridor will see a lot of estates marked. We went there, and I can tell you that from what we saw, over 80% of them do not have approval. The procedure to get approval is first to get the planning information as to what those areas have been zoned for. In this case, what we have is agricultural land, and people now go to their families to buy agricultural land. Of course, those lands would be sold because those families do not, you know the use of such land, what they can, you know, put it into. Maybe they are not, you know, into agriculture. But then the next thing is the fence permit. If you missed the earlier information on not knowing the area zoning. At the point of getting the fence permit, you'll be able to detect what the area is zoned for. After that, the layout permit, a large expense of land follows. So noting a layout permit cannot be obtained if it's not zoned for the purpose it was designed for. That's how you know from just looking at what the buildings are doing on that particular zone, you just know that these buildings do not have permits. So do you have should there be a concern? Because we all know that the Lekki Peninsula has a master plan, that was originally launched by President Bola Tinubu when he was governor of Lagos State, then handed over to Fashola, and there's been a continuum of some sort. But then what exactly is going on as regards Lagos and allocation of land? So
what is going on.
They want to build another highway now, and then all these estates, people will not have houses in the next 10 years. Estates in and Ekwe.
Sensali said
Ijileki towards Ekwe, yes.
It's a rat race of real estate developers. I call basically speculators. They are not even real estate developers. So what they do is basically land speculation, and that's what the commissioner is saying. So what they do is to approach families who are desperate. They just want the money, and they sign all manner of agreements with them. It's not as if these guys don't know what the use of the land is. They know how to get the land information on those lands.
Okay.
It's a very simple process, really. The only thing is the fence. Little educated Nigerians say no. That look, it's not just enough to go to a place. California, I'm sorry. I know what I'm saying. And we say, look, there's difference between being a real estate developer and a land speculator. A land speculator is not a developer. He just wants to sell land. And a lot of times they don't pay attention to details, or they know the trouble that's coming ahead and just basically ignore because they want to take people's money. So it's always about the buyer beware. Let the buyer beware of these things. There's a lot of sharp practices you have. A lot of people who call them. I just laugh when a developer, you just buy one expanse or sign one agreement of the land is under acquisition or committed acquisition or it's an agreed land or there's a master plan that says what the land is about. I said that there's going to be a serious crisis when it comes to real estate development and practice of the Lekki, because of the shenanigans that have come from people who are not developers. They have no business. It's a rat race. Everybody just wants to look for people's money, and there's that desperation. Really. But I think the government should step in. Because again, what happens most times is that the government will sit back and look at you, do all the nonsense you want to do. And when they step on them, people will now start to complain. Because what you have seen is a brazen violation of town planning regulations of the state. Basic brazen, the impunity that comes with it. They don't care. And unfortunately, people's monies are trapped. I've seen a lot. When you go to that, you see so many. Even from Ikorodu down to Epe, from Epe to Lekki, agreed land, land under acquisition. In fact, you see land that are already committed. Committed, when I say committed, for specific projects. And people are already telling me, money does not care. All these traditional landowners. What would have happened is that, look, the land that belongs to their community, that the government has assigned to them, they would have finished selling that one. They will now jump on the one that belongs to government. Come into all manner of agreement with all these so-called developers. When I say so-called, they are not developers, land speculators. And then they put different names to people, they do flyers, and then they begin to do all manner of funny allocations that amount to nothing really when you look at the critical books of government. So, if for the government to continue to sit back and allow this fraud, quote unquote, to happen, or do something about it immediately, and doing something about it immediately will be for them to move in and let people understand that, look, these things don't really exist. These guys are just collecting your money fraudulently.
Thank you very much, Fuad. You can get more details of that particular one on page 40, and you may actually want to do your due diligence as regards your property, especially here in Lagos State, because 10 is happening. All right, moving on, still on the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have here, major marketers demand more fuel as depots stock drops. That is on page 34 of the Punch newspaper. We also have here, above the masthead of the Punch, Tinubu to get ministers first quarter assessment report. That's on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. Well, it's finally May, so by 29th of May, we'll
be 1 year.
Yeah, so just be on the lookout. We're going to be
maybe a good time to evaluate the ministers, right?
It's just
I saw a cartoon
65 days after.
I saw a cartoon, drawn. I think the business guy does a fantastic job with his cartoons. I've forgotten his name now. And it was actually, talking about the Minister of Blue Ocean and Marine Economy. With Ḥᴜģᴜ Aᴊɪṕᴏ. When last have you heard anything about it?
When he was...
He said maybe the reason we are not hearing anything from him.
When he was screaming.
Is that it's not even to do with marine space. It's Blue Ocean Economy. Have to go on that.
Oh my God.
When last have you heard anything about it? The last time, I think one of was on one of our shows. I think it's Media 8. It was with Jᴏɪṛ and Joseph Fọlọ́runṣọ́.
Yes.
And I was just laughing. Media 8 is the Minister of Blue Ocean and Marine Economy.
Marine.
And you know what he said? He said that look, the minister is still working on a working template. He's still working on a blueprint. But that means really almost 1 year of this government, the Minister of Marine and Blue Ocean Economy is still working on a blueprint. They asked him basically what's happening in that ministry. What he said to him was that look, they are still studying things. Standard. And he's not the only one. Today there's a story.
Okay. Yes, please go on.
There's the story of a Jakarta Steel Complex. And we actually have a minister of steel. So there's somebody who...
You do?
I'm telling you.
Wow, that's amazing.
He said, in fact, what they have said, basically after almost 1 year of the appointment, is that they are looking for $2 billion to revitalize the Jakarta Steel Complex. There's also a minister there. And several ministers too. Some of them you don't even remember. The Minister of Women Affairs, the last time we saw her was when somebody was starting, when a student was starting in the school in Abuja. And she went there. A minister. It shows that she's not busy. A student slapping a fellow student that school authorities can easily deal with and resolve. A minister left her office.
Women affairs, you have to have a mothering nature. So, yeah, so that's why she had to.
So the minister for agree.
They are putting together,
They are still working on a blueprint.
Yes.
Well, the most vocal ones have been
Mr. Adebayo.
But this is working. We can know whether it's working the proper way or not. But this is working.
Just because someone's making a statement, would you say? I don't know. Well,
but at least you are hearing from me.
Well, Mr. Adebayo is doing a great job. At
the Ministry of Power.
At the Ministry of Power. But aside from that,
yes.
Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo seems to.
He's been a bit quiet. Since that issue of better. Have you know?
Yes. We haven't heard so much, but because he was actually, on his way to doing some interesting things.
He was the best performing.
Yes, we're looking out for him. Yeah, we're looking out for him. He was doing so many things in, the interior ministry. But then after the whole Betta Edu scandal, it just...
The thing went down. The energy went down. I think he should get his energy back. We like it. I think if we're to do, check and evaluate the ministers under this president, I think he was probably the brightest until that time when that allegation came out. I think he's recoiled a bit. He's gone back to himself a bit. Well, but I think we need him to get his energy back.
Yeah, that shouldn't let that dampen him, his spirit. Well, aside from that, I mean, we should also acknowledge, our Minister of Mining.
Solid minerals.
Thank you, Mr. Dele.
What has he done?
Well, I mean, he has also been vocal. Aside from that, they've all been. Oh yes, Mr. Heineken Lokobiri has also been.
None of his promises have come true. This was a matter I told you about Port Harcourt refinery for April. Himself and Lɪධᴇ were all hopeful about the potential of Port Harcourt refinery coming up in April. This is May. We're going to run May out, and they have also promised us that other refineries will work this year. So we wait to see what the assessment report will be.
Exactly. I'm sure that media houses would also be doing theirs as well. But still on the front page of the Punch newspaper, let's wrap things up with Dangote, Unilever, 5 others cut over 1,000 jobs in 1 year, and that is on page 34. But of course, operations in Nigeria at this time now hasn't been easy for a lot of business owners. So we should actually give it to business owners either who are starting up. I mean, just last week, a lot of fintech organizations were, having one issue or the other. So just a lot of companies at this time. Let's just do what we can, or see what we can to help one another. As far as say, let's take care of ourselves. This is Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM, and we're moving on now to the Guardian newspaper. The major headline there: banks and others shop for over 3 trillion naira from broke investors and lean markets. So very quickly, what that means is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. We have riders here. Banks count on new entrants investors as established investors opt for government debt instrument. Players urged to embark on holistic sensitization campaign. Over 10 trillion naira flows to treasury bills in 3 months. Foreign participation drops from 70% to 18% in 10 years. So with banks and other operating firms seeking to raise over 3 trillion naira from the capital market in the coming months, there are growing doubts that the Nigerian economy can soak the expected fundraising pressure. So
there's a competition,
yes, all of them are out.
While they are looking for investors, Nigerians are also looking at government security. The government is also looking for money from the same people. So it's going to be tough for the banks, really. I think people are finding government security more attractive at the time. You understand? The treasury bills and what have you. So rather than looking at bank investment, buying shares and all of the kind of things. So
and with foreign investments now dropping, so how do you think the banks are going to survive at this time? They're going to try to look inwards. They look at local investors. Local investors would have more assurance, just as you mentioned, assurance or insurance in government funds. But then security, thank you. And then foreign investors are not as confident,
as motivated,
to come in. So do you think the banks will be able to survive, or it's not going to be survival of the fittest?
It will have to be survival of the fittest. Luckily, there are options for that, right?
Mergers, acquisitions.
That's why the TCF window for them to do all of that, I think it's commendable. I think what we're going to do is banks who probably buy over smaller banks. We're going to see mergers, acquisitions. That's why all of those options are there. But it's going to be tough for our banks at this time. Even when business are not doing well, really, it's going to be a serious impact on our banks. People are not able to move money in. Investors are also struggling, so they are not as motivated, to go into buying shares and all of those kind of things. And now that the government is also very active and aggressive with pushing out security to raise money, which is becoming very attractive to investors at this time. It means that depositing money banks will have to put on their thinking cap, come up with better strategies to raise funds at this time. So it's not going to be a very easy one for them, but I'm sure those that will survive at the end of the day.
Thank you very much. Banks are expecting new entrants, but then of course we have investors are moving their assets to government debt instruments, with about just 10 trillion naira said to be left in the banking system. Treasury bills, a lot of people have invested heavily in treasury bills in the recent times. Whether or not, we'll see how things will go on. As as Fuad said, right now is a serious battle, but they still have till 2026. So they have enough time to see what they can do to mop things up. More details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have here on the front page of the Guardian: lingering fuel crisis, worsening capacity utilization and productivity, and that's coming from NECA. I think that's expected, but then let's just look at what the report has to say. NECA, that is the Employers Consultative Association. That's Nigeria Employers Consultative Association. So we have riders here. Oyeride saying scarcity despite subsidy removal defies logic. Doesn't make sense. That just doesn't make sense.
You can import fuel into the country. What's going on?
Marketers
that's why people are saying that subsidy removal is not real. Subsidy is bad. When subsidy is gone,
they said we saved money. They said we saved money.
What money are we saving?
But we saved. Didn't we save?
When we talk about clarity, when we talk about transparency, standard, openness, and clarity, this is exactly what we're saying. You know, when you operate, when there's too much opaqueness in the activities of government, you just get people confused. And that's what the man is saying. That look, how do you remove subsidy and we're still battling for what's going on?
Well, we also have here marketers upbeat, assure situation will ease this week. Okay. NAN suspend protest, also dialogue over fuel and electricity crisis. NAN, that's Association of Nigerian Students, National Association of Nigerian.
No, NAN. Those ones are not serious now.
News as
anytime I hear NANs, I just shove it aside. Those ones have become regular politicians. Don't you see them? The way they parade themselves. They are almost even becoming almost more irresponsible than so-called politicians.
And the career
I've seen them. They are even the career politicians. The career politicians. They also now move in convoy. Standard. Presidency 1, Presidency 2. See, when we did student unionism, it was more commitment to the struggle than the odds of not being with politicians and also behaving like that. They are now also used to making statements that will have nothing would happen for me. You know, that's what they also do now. They just continue to make statements. They want to also what they try to do to make themselves relevant before the politicians. So it becomes a bargaining chip, becomes a weapon of patronage, political patronage. And then let's just waste time on those. Who are even the guys there? Look at their elections after. They able to see themselves because they want to become now president and what else. Nobody should take them serious. So that's my own opinion. That's just the part there for me. They are nothing to be taken seriously.
Well, they had planned to protest on
where?
On Tuesday, tomorrow, May 7th. They said they planned to protest.
Protest what?
Protest the fuel scarcity and the electricity problem.
And so what would the protest
have in the country? But
bring fuel into the country.
They have shelved the protest and they are now opting for dialogue with relevant government authorities.
You see the problem? That's what I said. Just make the statement, make yourself relevant, and then you are able to patronize and bargain. You know the strategy that we know these things now, Sandra. Just make people, you just be there.
Let's look at NECA, what NECA is saying. NECA is looking at the fact that due to the epileptic nature of electricity supply from the grid, most businesses, particularly SMEs, now depend on self-electricity generation by utilizing fuel. Now, there's fuel scarcity, and now it has further worsened and idle capacities as capacity utilization has continued to decline among businesses. So there's no light. So now I have to, generate my power myself, and for me to do that, I need fuel, and now there's no fuel.
You know, yesterday on the roundtable, the first issue we discussed was Mr. Yemi Cardoso's statement on the issue of inflation.
Yes, the palliative conversation.
Where he has said government palliative is working the inflation, and despite all monetary policy, basically increasing interest rates at every MPC meeting, the inflation has continued to rise. And I think headline inflation is about 33%. Food inflation has gotten over 40%. So what he's now saying is that, look, this idea of government buying everything, mopping it up, and all of these palliative arrangements, putting a lot of money into buying things and all of that, is worsening the issue of inflation in the country. But what by Tʀᴇ was saying yesterday is that, look, you can talk about this palliative, which to him is not a major problem. The major problem is that the government policies itself, subsidy is gone. A lot of manufacturer companies would have to, at the end of the day, look at their books and transfer those extra costs on the end users. Electricity tariff has gone up, Sandra. Look, if you are a producer now, you would eventually put the cost where? On the end product, which will now go back to, so if you put everything together, remove subsidy, increase electricity tariff, import duty has gone up, and all of these things, those are the things that are also making this inflationary trend go up. So on one part, you have a Yemi Cardoso, the CBN governor, who is doing monetary policies to tackle inflation. But when it comes to the fiscal side, which is not his own major job, the government is faltering. So you have a contradiction somewhere. On one side, the CBN is trying to tackle inflation by working on monetary policies, reducing the money in circulation and all of that. Whereas on the side of the politicians, who majorly should handle fiscal policy, they are just doing whatever they want to do. They are doing palliative economy. People are still busy stealing. There's still so much corruption. up to today, people are asking questions as to really why anytime you share fast allocation, dollar goes up. So it's all confused. That's why we are saying that, look, this palliative economy of the development to the government, are there questions we are not getting answers to? Because if the CBN government is not complaining about palliative, and the government is a major proponent of palliative economy, then there's a missing link somewhere.
That is the situation of the country as it is now, and this is coming from experts. So there's a lot behind that statement, and there's also a lot now as NECA is voicing out idle capacity, the fact that it will trigger low production, trigger low profits, of course, and then which would then now spiral into retrenchment or layoff of workers. So
unemployment comes in again.
Unemployment rate goes up. So do you see how just one policy or just one statement or one phrase, can spiral
without thinking it through, without taking your time to really work it out and look at the consequences. Policies may look the same, Sandra, but the consequences are different based on your own local popularities and reality. The fact that subsidy is removed in a particular country somewhere else and it works for them does not mean it's going to work for you. What about the structure? Look at unification of forex, the forex market standard. When it was announced, people said that, look, you really have the structure to unify your foreign exchange market. Because about the structure, really, you have what it takes. The fact that unification has been done somewhere and it works for them does not mean you automatically jump into it here without putting the structure on ground. Now we have our foreign rates now. We talked about it the last time.
Yeah. Yes.
Have we unified anything now?
NAFEM, black market, customs,
import
and
then the BDC rate.
And then the BDC rate. Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
You see the problem.
This is Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. Moving on from fuel scarcity, NECA, productivity, and imminent unemployment crisis. Still on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, from 30,000 naira to 615,000 naira. Feasibility hurdles await minimum wage lages in state and private sector. The story is on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. I think we've been having back and forth as regards that. I don't know, over the weekend, some civil servants were like, why are these people doing this to us? 615 bow. How? Because
even the civil servants are shocked.
The civil servants are shocked as well. 615 how?
But you don't do a J-Lo and Otifo are still insisting. That is the demand or no, or people are saying that, well, maybe they're taking it that high, hoping that they'll get something in the middle. I don't know really. But from what I'm getting, still have to expect.
Right.
If I'm going to be looking at the Edo State model, the NLC there have appreciated the 70,000 minimum wage by the governor. That might actually be the working model at the end of the day. I don't know really.
Yeah. Finally, from the Guardian newspaper, Atiku raises alarm over Tinubu's son's membership of Chagore's board. Just in case you are asking, what is Chagore's board? Gilbert Chagore is the head of high-tech.
That is doing which road?
That is doing the Lagos Calabar, that is constructing the Lagos, or that was, contracted to construct the Lagos Calabar without any bidding of any sort, that we are aware of anyways. So the story we have now on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper is telling us that presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party 2023 general elections has alleged that the presence of President Bola Tinubu's son on the board of companies owned by Gilbert Chagore constitutes a conflict of interest. And now he has advised the president to focus more on attracting real investors than adopting propaganda as a state policy. So, according to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, Sheyi Tinubu, Sheyi Tinubu is a director on the board of CDK Integrated Industries, which is a subsidiary of the Chagore Group, which manufactures ceramic tiles and sanitary towels. All right. So citing a report from a Paris-based Africa intelligence news agency, where it was revealed that the CAC reveals that Sheyi is officially a business associate of Chagore, saying that it was not surprising that Chagore Group had become the biggest beneficiary of Tinubu Lagis. There's a lot to take away from that. But Fuad, conflict of interest, this allegation is actually, going a long way, and also the interesting back and forth between the presidency and Alhaji Atiku Abubakar on this Lagos Calabar coastal highway. Please, we have just a few seconds.
No, I'm not going to say anything. We just want the road. Let the road be done. That's all.
What?
What do you want me to say?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
We just want the road. Let the road be done. That's all.
More details of that on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Finally, I'll just quickly rush through the major headlines on the front page of Vanguard. And the major headline there says, local firms, IOCs to bid for 12 onshore, 7 deep offshore oil blocks as federal government woos investors. And the story is on page 5.
We need those investment standards because, again, we just have to show up our oil production. That's the lifeline for us. The life safety thing that we need to do at this time. Offshore, onshore, oil blocks, let's get it as much. Because, again, we need investment to push out enough production when it comes to oil production in the country. So, a good one. Let's just hope that transparency, accountability comes. And those that are deserving of those allocations get it, so that we can put enough money into those oil blocks that give enough. Our refineries, at least that goes into oil, crude oil. If Port Harcourt comes from stream, it will also need their crude oil and all of that. Apart from that, we need to need some OPEC and even for party. So it's a good one. It gives the right thing it's done.
Thank you very much. So many, as it is now, many indigenous companies and international oil companies have indicated interest to bid for the 12 onshore and 7 deep offshore blocks that have been put forward for sale by the federal government. You can get more details of that on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. We also have here, just on the front page of Vanguard, employers labor angry over unending fuel scarcity. That's on page 8 of Vanguard. We also have marketers remain upbeat as petrol scarcity enters 3rd week. That's on page 28.
Third week of needless suffering.
And finally, I have here, just above the masthead of Vanguard, why FDIs continue to elude Nigeria. Why, you may ask, and that's coming from Alhaji Atiku Abubakar again. And just very quickly, he has said that foreign investors would avoid Nigeria as long as the current administration stuck to propaganda as a state policy instead of focusing on attracting real investors. Yes, so that is still, in addendum to the conversation as regards the allegation on Sheyi Tinubu being a director of Gilbert Shagori Group. Yes. All right, so we can get more details of that on page 9 of Vanguard newspaper. That's a wrap for today on trends in the papers.
Before we go, where is the president? Where's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
OTC.
No, he was in Saudi Arabia. I never seen whereabouts has been unclear.
That's easy.
In fact, he was supposed to be in the US for an event. The vice president has also left the country to represent him. As we speak, no official statement as to the exact whereabouts of the president. I thought I didn't just mention that.
Well, I don't think that maybe it's probably at the technology conference that's been held.
This technology conference. The last time he was in Saudi Arabia. That's all. That's the one that we have. He's still in Saudi Arabia. Has he left? Where is the president?
So, these are the issues. 8:31 a.m. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, it's time for Mainland Focus, where you, our dear listener, you get to be a part of the conversation. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. Please stay tuned.
You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. The sound of Lagos.
Hey folks, ready to take your smartphone experience to the next level? Introducing the Tecno Camon 30 and Pova 6 series, 2 amazing smartphones that redefine innovation. With the Tecno Camon 30, capture every moment in stunning detail with its advanced Sony sensor camera. Say goodbye to blurry photos and hello to crystal clear images. And for all the gamers, engage yourself in an immersive gaming experience with the Tecno Pova 6 series, featuring super sensory gaming technology and a 70 watts ultra charge. Every game comes to life